Star Wars Rebels is a fantastic show. It has given us interesting sides of the galaxy far, far away and expanded canon in the process. Now, this amazing show is coming to an end. So in this video, I want to go over what will happen at the end of Star Wars Rebels. Let's talk about it. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. If you love Star Wars the way I love Star Wars, subscribe to this channel. We do all sorts of coverage of the galaxy far, far away. Oh, and shout out to Jeremy Sawyer, who got the nerd card question correct in my Han Solo trailer video. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to Star Wars, so shout out to you, Jeremy. There will be another nerd card question at the end of this video. All right, guys, so I'm a huge fan of Star Wars Rebels. I think the show is incredibly dope, and it has a very special place in canon for a lot of fans. This was sort of crystallized for me when I went down to Star Wars Celebration, and I saw how many people were rabid fans of Star Wars Rebels. I'm telling you, you just don't know how big that fandom is until you get in a huge room with Dave Filoni talking about it, and you just see how the room is filled and how there's so much energy and excitement for there. It's also a great entry place, like, for Star Wars fans, for a lot of younger kids or, you know, people in their adolescence who aren't necessarily fans of the older 70s Star Wars. This is a very good entry point to people. So it's a great series. It's been awesome to have this ride. But as I said, man, this show is coming to an end, and there's a lot of big questions out there, right? These characters are majorly not seen in the original trilogy or in Rogue One, and because of the timeline in which Rebels takes place, that brings up a lot of questions. People want to know what happens to these characters, right? So we know that Hera and Chopper make it out of this series because they are in Rogue One. Hera's call sign is used. You see the ghost, and you literally see Chopper in the show. By the way, there was a very funny story that Dave Filoni said about that whole experience down at Star Wars Celebration. I won't bore you with it, but man, it was really funny and kind of cool. But we also know that Thrawn will make it out of Rebels. This was sort of a leak that Dave Filoni did. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but essentially he said that Thrawn outlives the Emperor, I believe, or something like that. So we know that he lives till at least past Return of the Jedi. So we more or less know that Thrawn is safe unless Dave Filoni was lying to us about that. But the other big questions are, what is going on with Ezra and Kanan? Now, these are two Jedi in a time and in place where there's really not a lot of Jedi around at all. And so the fact that we don't see them in the fold of the galaxy, it asks a lot of questions. We have to know, like, do they die? Do they go do something else? Are they in exile hiding? What's the deal with Ezra and Kanan? Sabine is another big question mark. Sabine is an awesome character. Mandalore, very cool piece of the Star Wars world that we'd love to see explored more in canon. So the questions like, what's going on with Sabine? Does she go back to Mandalore when this is all said and done? Does she die and then sort of become a catalyst for Mandalore to be angry at one of the sides, whether they be Empire or Rebellion? A lot of questions there. I'm also really curious about Zeb and Kallus, two characters that have had a very good arc. Love these characters, and we don't really see them anywhere in canon after this, so, you know, the questions are, where are they? Now, we just recently got the new trailer for Rebels Season 4, and I would have loved to do a breakdown of it, but I'm just incredibly busy. But of course, I watched it like a million times. It's very exciting, and there's a huge focus on Ezra. And the thing that I really love about the focus being on Ezra is it reminds me a lot of what happened with Ahsoka. You see, Ahsoka started out as sort of a very young, kind of annoying character, and then we sort of grow up with her throughout Clone Wars, and she becomes a fan favorite. It was really fantastic, that whole experience. I was not a huge fan of Ahsoka at first, but she really grew on me, and now she's one of my favorite Jedi. So I think a similar thing happened with Ezra, but it was sort of streamlined. So we see him as sort of this young, kind of annoying kid, and now we're watching him grow up, and man, a lot of people love Ezra, and so it's very exciting to see the focus be put on him. After all, the catalyst for the show is really this crew picking up this Force-sensitive boy on Lothal And their entire journey, to some degree, is about what happens now that they have Ezra Bridger on their ship. So it's pretty exciting to see that the focus was on him, and I think his ending in the show is a big part of the ending of the overall show as well. Now, I want to talk about the Emperor, the Lothwolves, and Mortis, because these are three huge things that were revealed in the trailer for the last part of season 4 here. So things that are very interesting about this is we know that Ezra has incredible prowess within the Force. I mean, he's very gifted as a Jedi, but beyond that, he has showcased powers that we've really never seen in Star Wars before. A lot of this has to do with the way he communicates with animals, some of the way that he can see things. It's very, similar to some of the stuff we see, maybe even in The Last Jedi. But Ezra and his path and his incredible power is something that people have talked about a lot. So, like, if Ezra was just a normal Jedi, I don't think as many people would be asking, where the hell is Ezra Bridger when this whole Darth Vader thing is going on? First of all, the guy has faced Darth Vader before. He's aware of him. And he's incredibly powerful with the Force. So even in, like, Empire, when Yoda says, there is another, a lot of us are like, wow, he could even be talking about Ezra at that moment, because we know Yoda has interactions with Ezra. We know Obi-Wan Kenobi has interactions with Ezra. So there's a lot of questions about there. Now, we see the Emperor in this trailer, and he literally says, Ezra Bridger, at last I have you. And if you look at the images of that part, there's a lot of like smoke and stuff, and it really reminds me of the spell that Palpatine and Dooku perform to literally confront Yoda on the Sith homeworld. This was at the end of the Clone Wars, and it looks very similar. Now, real quickly here, if you didn't know this, Palpatine explored in all sorts of aspects of the Force. He actually studied with Mother Talzit and learned a lot of the same Force magic that the Seven Sisters and all of the people on Dathomir actually use. So he's incredibly well versed in different ways to use the Force. I believe what is happening here is that Palpatine is sort of projecting himself to Ezra Bridger, and if he is in a very interesting place, and maybe the Lothwolves take him there, because remember, when they walk with the Lothwolves in episodes prior, the Lothwolves have a way of literally teleporting them to different places on the planet, and perhaps even in the galaxy. If you remember in the Mortis episodes, they actually like become unconscious and sort of go to this place, which I personally believe is outside the living Force. It is in the cosmic Force, and I think that's what happened to Yoda, and I think that's what happened to Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka when they interact with Mortis, the father, the son, and the daughter. A lot of people are wondering if basically Ezra is going to interact at all with the father, the mother, or the father, the daughter, and the son, and will he take the place of the father, which was the thing that Anakin was supposed to do way back in the day. Now, I do think that that is possible, but I don't necessarily know if that's the way that they're going to take this arc. I believe that Ezra is going to face the Emperor in some way, maybe not in an actual confrontation. Perhaps it like exists in the same way that Yoda fought Sidious in the Clone Wars episodes. So I think there will be some kind of a confrontation, and there will be some kind of a knowledge about the Force. But one of the things we have to remember about the Jedi is that, especially given the context of rising light and rising dark and balance, that Ezra represents this huge potential within the Force, and if he were to go to the dark side, it would be incredibly bad, but the light side would eventually even that out. It would balance that out, and if he goes to the light side, that would be balanced out as well, giving birth to another powerful darkness. Ezra may come to realize that the best thing for him to do, the way that he could help the galaxy the most, is to not be this huge hero and to find small ways to help and sort of just meditate within the Force. So I think that even though we're heading towards a possible very crazy outcome where he literally goes into Mortis, becomes the new father, and leaves the crew behind, sort of becoming a part of the Force, I actually don't think that's what's going to happen. When he says one last lesson, I believe it is his trial, and I believe he will stand up to the Emperor in some capacity. But like I said, I don't think that the Emperor is physically there. However, it is possible that the Emperor will still be able to kill Ezra, and it's possible that Ezra confronting him could serve a larger purpose to sort of distract the Emperor, to sort of weaken the Emperor, or do something like that. So there's a lot of possibilities there, but I believe his facing the Emperor is his trial. And it's going to be very exciting, guys. I can't wait. Just so you know, too, the structure for the end of Rebels is very interesting. We're going to get 2 episodes, then we're getting another 2 episodes, and then we are getting 1 episode and an hour-and-a-half long finale. So I think that's 2 hours of Rebels on the last day that it airs, and that's just absolutely incredible. So let's talk about speculation real quick on what I think will happen to the rest of the crew. Now, if Ezra does not die, I actually believe that Sabine and Ezra will go back to Mandalore. They sort of teased this a little bit in the beginning of Season 4, where Ezra says he doesn't want to be Mandalorian. He's working on the jetpack and having a lot of trouble with that. And I think this could be foreshadowing for him actually becoming Mandalorian. So if Sabine and Ezra just go back to Mandalore and just try to work things out there, and he sort of hides the fact that he's a Jedi, that could be very, very interesting. Perhaps he just uses his Force ability as best he can there, and he could even give birth. Well, I guess Sabine would give birth, but they could have children that would go on to be sort of Force-sensitive Mandalorians, just like Tar Vizsla. And from a fan perspective, that's amazing. I believe that Zeb and Kallus will likely stay on the ship with Hera. I mean, that's a big ship. The Ghost is a huge ship. So I think that they're going to be needed there still. But it's possible that they go help out the rebellion in different ways. Kallus has a large skill set. He's definitely very useful. So he could be helping out the rebellion on the ground, being in charge of his own ship or fleets or something like that. And just because him and Zeb now have this friendship, I think Zeb's going to hang out with Kallus. If Kallus goes and is with the Empire, Zeb will just be his right-hand man, sort of be his bodyguard, and that would be amazing. There's a huge possibility that Kanan will die, though. I just kind of get the vibe that they're setting us up for Kanan making a huge sacrifice. Perhaps he sacrifices himself to save Ezra from the Emperor, or goes into Mortis himself to stop Ezra from having to. But either way, if there is going to be someone that dies, my money is actually on Kanan. That would be absolutely tragic, but kind of satisfying too if it's a big sacrifice to perhaps save Hera, to perhaps, you know, help everybody else out. So that's kind of the way that I see it. But those are my thoughts on how Rebels Season 4 will end. Man, super sad to see this show go, but I think these characters are still going to be around in the Star Wars universe. They could pop up in comics and books and even potentially movies down the line. But what do all of you guys think? Do you have different opinions on how you think this will all go down? Do you think that Ezra will literally face down the Emperor? And how do you think that's exactly going to go? Because I just don't think there's any way Ezra can win, even though he's one of the most powerful Jedi that we've ever seen. The Emperor is the Emperor, and at this point, he's kind of still in his prime. So the only person we know that can beat him is Vader. That's who beats him. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, let's check that nerd card really quickly. Now, the character of Zeb is actually based on an old Ralph McQuarrie design for one of our original trilogy main characters. So what is Zeb's design based on? What original character was that originally going to be? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!